So now we're going to be looking at 1.2 in our textbook, which is on factoring. And factoring basically means the definition of a factor is opposite of that of a multiple. If you remember, multiples are larger than an original number. So if I have a number, if I go look on the number line, multiples means it's another skip count of that same number. That's a multiple. The other way around is what numbers can be skip counted to get to that number. So which smaller number can go into this original number. So if this is my original number, well, what smaller numbers can skip count to get to that original number? So for example, if I look at the number 10, my multiples of 10 are 10, 20, 30, 40, but factors are smaller. So which numbers can skip count to give to 10? So for example, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. That means 2 can skip count and get to 10, which means 2 is a factor of 10. Are there any other factors of 10? Well, that's what we're going to be looking at, is what other numbers can skip count to get to that number. An easy way to look at that is to look at area. So the question might be, if I'm given 24 beads, what are all the different possible areas that I can create with 24 beads? Which basically means, what are the different factors of 24? Well, the easiest rectangle to make, the possible area with 24 beads, is to make one straight line of beads. Now, it'll take a little while. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So I have 24 beads by 1. So my area of this rectangle is 24 by 1. That means they are partnered up. 1 goes with 24 because 1 goes into 24 24 times, or 24 goes into 24 only one time. Other possible areas, if we rearrange the beads and try to see what else we can make, is put them in pairs. So if we put them in pairs, which means they're by 2, how many pairs will I have that will get to 24 total beads? Then that'll be 12. I can keep going and seeing other possible areas. So I keep moving my beads around until I can get some rectangles in there. And if I try again, I see that an arrangement of 8 by 3 will also work with 24. And one last arrangement is the most square of them all, and it's not really a square though, but it's kind of starting to look like a square, is a 6 by 4 rectangle gets 24 also. So these are all the different possible areas to get to 24 beads. And as you can see, they're always partnered. 1 is going to be with 24 because 1 and 24, 1 times 24 makes my answer 24. Or 2 and 12. We call these partner pairs. 2 is partnered with 12 because 2 times 12 is 24, and 12 times 2 is 24. 8 and 3 are pairs, and 6 and 4 are pairs. So now let's look at another way of looking at it is just by division. So we start with the number 24, and we try all the numbers that are less than 24 to see if it goes into 24. Well, 1 will always go into 24. 1 will always go into any number. So that means 1 times 24 gives 24. 1 goes into every number. Well, we know that 2 will go into 24 because 24 is even. So its partner is 12. And we see that 3 and 8 are partners. And 4 and 6 are partners. As you can see, you always have a partner. The only time where you might not have a partner is when it's multiplied by itself. So for the example 25, I have its partners 1 and 25. And the only partner is 5 and itself. which basically means that 25 only has 3 factors, 1, 5, and 25. Now let's look at another example. If I have 16 and try to find the factors of 16. Factors of 16, I always start with 1 and the number itself. And then I try other numbers. So greater than 1 is 2, and 2 goes with 8. I can try 3, and if I try to rearrange it, unfortunately I can't make a rectangle with dimensions 3 and something else to get 16. So I try 4, and I see that 4 partners with itself. So the factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16. Now, going back or extending this a little bit, and going back to chapter 1.1, we looked at common multiples. We can also look at what we call common factors. And if we remember from yesterday, common means shared. So if I want to share these factors, I have to list them all out. So the factors of 16 are 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. Factors of 24 are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. So common means shared. So I'm going to just change my color here. Get to, let's say, blue. And I'm just going to circle all of the shared factors. Well, 1 will always be a shared factor between 2 numbers, or 3 numbers, or 10 numbers. 1 can go into every whole number. So that will always be a common factor. Now let's look at other numbers that might be common. Well, 2 is a common factor. That means 2 goes into 16, and it also goes into 24. It's shared. 4 goes into both 16 and 24 as well. We look at 3. 3 goes into 24 because I have an 8 by 3 rectangle, but remember 3 doesn't go into 16, so it's not a common factor. Only 4 is a common factor because 4 can go both into 16 and 24. 6 goes into 24, but 6 doesn't go into 16 evenly. I do see that 8 is shared, and the rest of the numbers don't share. So once we look at our common factors, I look for what we call the greatest, or the largest of these common factors. The greatest common factor, or shortened GCF, is the largest of these common numbers, and that means the greatest common factor of 16 and 24, I gave away the answer, is 8. So let's just recap a little bit. When you're given a number, you can find its factors. Factors are always smaller than the original number. What you could do is 2 different ways. You can create rectangles using manipulatives, so you can use your counters, or you can use beads or marbles, and you can make rectangles out of them and find out what rectangles can you create from that number. Now these rectangles have dimensions, which are their factors. So the factors of 24 are all the possible dimensions of the rectangles. So 1, 2, 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. Those are all the different factors of 24. The smallest factor is always 1, and the largest factor will always be the number itself. The largest factor can never be greater than the actual original number itself. When we're looking at 2 different numbers, such as 16 and 24, we can look for common factors, which means any numbers that are shared, that both of those numbers can go into the original 2 numbers. I can list them out and then circle all of the common ones, and then find what is the greatest common factor of all of them. In this case, the greatest common factor is 8. If there were no common factors, 1 is always a factor, so which means that the lowest common factor will always be 1. In some cases, it might even also be the greatest common factor. So use the method you want. Either make the rectangles or make these factor rainbows to try to find out a factor pairs, list the factors, and find the greatest common factor from there. I hope you understood the lesson.